Today's message from Reverend Christian Sorensen was recorded on September 24th, 2017, and it's titled, "The Selfing Game is What Spirit Does," affirming, "I am the good time Spirit is having." And today we welcome the talent and performance of Andrea Lane and Billy, who if you come to joyspodcast.com for this episode, you can find links to her podcast and Facebook page. Come visit us at our shiny new website at seasidecenter.org or join us in Encinitas, California sometime, where we always have great music, a spirited message, and a joyful, loving, vibrant community that await you.
Okay, well, good morning, Seaside. It's good to be here. And yeah, we were looking for choir members. Yay, especially tenors. So we have a very extra special gift today, extra special guest. They're our first time here at Seaside. They come from Agape in LA. And in fact, the vocalist, that's a husband and wife team. And in fact, they're definitely rockers. They will rock your world, folks. They are amazing, amazing, amazing vocal team. And it's Andrea. She likes Andrea Lane. She's beautiful. She's talented. She's lovely. And she's got some CDs back there, too. So you want to support the CDs as well. And then her lovely husband, her fun husband, Billy, is actually a practitioner. So he'll actually be here to also support you on that when we have our prayer wall later on. So they're just a wonderful team, spirit-filled, fun, very talented. So put your hands together for Billy and Andrea Lane, the rocker of God, rocker for God, right? That's how your favorite saying is. They call her the rock star for God. So go get him, girl. Go get him. You're welcome. Rockstar for God.
Good morning. Y'all ready? All right. Conscious revolution. Conscious revolution. It's a conscious revolution. It's a conscious revolution. I let go, I'm in the flow. I let go, I speak what I know. I'm in the zone. I'm stepping out of my shell. I'm stepping out of my hell. I'm in the flow. And it's electric. I stand for radical love, and it's time to shout it out loud. We're here to love, and no way that hatred can win. There's no way, only love wins. We're in the flow, and it's electric. We are waking up, and we are here to love. It's a conscious revolution, radical love. I am
And that is Andrea Lane and Billy. Oh my, what a duo. Conscious revolution, waking us up for that electrifying expression of spirit that's coming through. Wake up. That is the way to go for sure. All right, so here we are. We are in the midst of exploring Gene Houston's book, Jump Time. And the particular chapter that I'm coming from today is, well, I know what it is. It doesn't need to be up there. It happens to be that the selfing game is what the infinite does for fun. The selfing game is spirit personalizing its expression as your life. But what Andrea was sharing with me, she thought it was God's selfie game. I think, yeah, that could be, but the book probably came out before selfies got popular with Ellen DeGeneres. And so, but the thing is, you are spirit, right? Not all of it, but all that you are spirit. So what you're doing is what spirit really does for fun. So is God having a good time as you? Good. That's a lot better response than I heard before. But, what we're really going to get at this morning is that we have many different aspects of our being. And that's the fun part, is to bring forth the different aspects, whether in the physical form. Halloween's a great show of that. Or our, like on the internet, we got a lot of different personalities out there. We say things we may not normally say. But Gene started off this chapter by going to meet a friend. They were going to meet under the clock tower in Grand Central Station. And she hadn't seen her friend for close to a decade, and she got there, and she was looking for her, maybe 10 or 15 minutes, not finding her. Then all of a sudden, she heard, "Hey, Jean," from over by the clock tower, and she was looking for her friend who's in her 50s, and she saw like this 30-year-old who'd kind of been smiling the whole time. And she recognized the voice. It was the voice of her friend. It had that nasal sound that she definitely recognized, but with this kind of body she did not recognize. And she said, "Oh my goodness, what happened?" And she said, "Well, I had my nose bobbed and my lips expanded and my hips reduced and the veneers of my white teeth, hair implants, and just a collagen factory in my face." And it's like, wow. And during lunch, she recognized why her friend had called her for them to get together when she said, "Hey, Gene, I've been working on my outside. Now I think it's time to work on my inside, and I heard you're pretty good at that." To which Gene gently said, "Don't you think you maybe should have worked on the inside first?" And she said, "Oh, no, because, I worked on my inside, and then I looked in the mirror, and I saw this old hag. I don't know what would have happened." So, but what I want us to get is that it's the inside and that the outside will transform. This concept of transforming our physical appearance is as old as literature. You can find it in Homer's Odyssey and Proteus, changing shape. You can find it in the shamanic teachings. You can find it in Zeus, changing it. People have worked on the shape-shifting or changing throughout time, and what we believe is that we can change our expression and our appearance when we do work on the inside. If you go to the inside first, you can't help but to have your outer world begin to transform, and to recognize that transformation is different aspects of ourself that comes out. Gene likes to talk about the polyphrenic aspect of our being, kind of like an actor has a lot of different characters there come on the stage, and they're this person, and they come on, and they could be this person and this person. And I thought that was a great word, polyphrenic. And I was like, But what does it mean? Like Oprah. Well, they got some big words, Gene. And so I looked went online, dictionary, and found out that the dictionary says Gene Houston coined this word about the many different aspects of our personality that in a healthy way come together. And so we see it like in the soccer mom. There was a demographic done of the women that the pollsters were aiming or targeting. And the soccer mom they identified as a successful businesswoman managing her office while also being able to carpool her kids to their various activities, as well as satisfying the needs of the community in which she serves, as well as finding time for her spiritual experience, as well as being a wife to her husband. Unless there is no husband around, then she's the dad too. And it's like, oh my goodness, we wear what we call the different hats, but truly what it is it's the different aspects of our being. We can be that powerful, successful business person managing and operating in our world, or we can be that loving person in relationship. And it doesn't mean I'm this and I'm not that, or I'm schizophrenic because I'm this and I'm this and I'm this and I'm this. We have many different aspects. The diamond has many different facets. And as you begin to apply the different aspects of your being in a holistic kind of way and say, you know what, I'm going to jump from where I feel stuck here and move this jump time, be able to move from here to there, knowing that Spirit's having a good time playing this selfing game in me. And just because I've come up to a block doesn't mean I need to be stopped, because there's part of me that knows how to move through it. What Jean was talking about is her writing skills. She's written more than 20 books, and she says New Age folks sometimes will come up to her and say, what do? Channel all those books? And her response is, no, I have to fight over every damn word that I put down on that page. It doesn't come to her, she says easily, that she has to struggle with every word that ends up on that page. But when she sits down and she has that block and she has that struggle, she calls upon what she calls her working muse. She calls upon that aspect that is not deterred, stopped, or impeded, but an aspect of herself who looks at that block and goes, oh, that's interesting. Okay, now on with what I can do here. See, that's the value of being able to access the different aspects of our being and realize that really those different aspects are the many different facets or the face of the infinite, of God, of Spirit, or call it what you will. You have at your access the infinite. She breaks down consciousness. There's many different aspects, she says, but you've got, which you are, which is your history, your DNA, what it is you do, where it is you live. And then you've got what we are, and that is accessing your mentors or those that have gone before you, the facilitators, the teachers, or even those that are not even in this world. If you, let's say you want to make peace, be a peacemaker in this time in our world, you may want to access the consciousness that a Gandhi accessed, or a Mother Teresa, or a St. Francis of Assisi, or Irene, the representative of peace in the Greece days. And, or the third one she was talking about is the I am, in that part of your being where there is no longer separation between you and Spirit showing up. And when it begins to show up in our life, it kind of starts off like an inkling. You get a feeling. See, this is how Spirit begins to self itself into your expression. You feel like this hunch. Know that voice, that feeling? The tingle in the spine, the back, the hair sticks up, maybe catching a vision. I got people come here that say, I just had a sense that I should be here this morning. I didn't know why, but then I met the love of my life, and now I know why. The magic that happens at Seaside, but you got to be here for that. Or I had a sense I need to check those numbers, check the numbers, and the numbers are all wrong in the report, and I'm so glad I didn't put it out there. Or we were going, Callie and I were going to a dear friend who we watched grow up from womb to getting engaged. It was an engagement party, and we're jumping in the car to go to the family's house for their party. Callie said, I'll take a look at invitation, I usually throw it away by saving. And you looked at it and realized it's not at our friend's house, it's at the fiance's house. And I was like, oh my goodness, good thing. And we're not dressed quite how they said we should be dressed. What is it? Poolside chic. What is poolside chic? For young 22-year-olds, it's spiked heels and fun dresses. But see, Spirit has a great time showing up in these different aspects, whether it shows up as me, whether it shows up at you. It is what Spirit does for fun. It selfs itself in your self-expression, in your life, in your career, in your world, and what it is you're doing. It is all God having a great time, but you've got to be willing to listen to that sense that is there, and it's quiet. The origination of the still small voice, you ever hear about that? The still small voice? Well, if you haven't, I'll tell you where you can first find it anyway. In the Old Testament, under the first book of Kings, where Elijah is having a tough time dealing with the folks that are honoring Baal, the idol, the calf, and they worship the idol calf Baal, and he didn't like that. And then to make things worse, the queen Jezebel was really not happy with him. She basically was trying to get him killed, which is a good indication she's not pleased. And so just tired of fighting, and he runs off to the wilderness, finds himself a cave, is just really in a bad attitude, and just, I'm all alone and doing all this. And he gets this sense from God after he spends the night in the cave and says, you know what, you're not all alone. Climb the mountain. So he climbs the mountain, and the winds are blowing so hard that the rocks are being split. The earth is, when that stops, the earth starts to shake, and fire pops out, and it's like, enough's enough. And when it all stops, it gets quiet. Like really quiet, earthquake, fire, wind. It's quiet. And it's in the silence that he hears the still small voice of the presence. And recognizes that sometimes in the commotion, in the activity, in all the hoopla, that you don't hear that voice of Spirit. And it was in that moment that he came to realize that he was not alone. That there was something inside of him that knew. And that's what we want to do, is we want to listen to that something inside of us that knows. Oprah, who seems to be Gene Houston's buddy now, probably for years actually, she says, follow your passion. It will lead you to your purpose. Follow your passion. Follow that voice. Follow that something. That's Spirit wanting to self itself in your life. Emma Curtis Hopkins, she's considered the teacher of teachers in the New Thought movement. Ernest Holmes, founder of religious science, was her last student about 1925 in Chicago, but she was the teacher of the Fillmores, who started Unity, Nona Brooks, who started Divine Science. She came out of being the editor of the Christian Science Monitor. Anyway, she says that if we feel there is something to do, be certain it is ours to do it. Got that sense this is mine to do? Guess what, guys? It's yours to do. And so not only is it in the world, like I need to go out and save the world. If that's your call, then by all means you want to do that. But also, if there's something stirring inside of you. But what happens a lot of times is when something starts stirring inside of us that isn't like as graceful and wonderful as we think Spirit should be in our life, stuff it. Let's get rid of that. So I just don't really need to look at that. And sometimes it may come up in our work environment. It's like the work isn't like doing it, or the stress or the difficulty. And it's like, I just can't look at that because it's just not, I need to continue. I got my responsibilities. Or your health. And your mind questions something, right? That still small voice, it's Spirit selfing. Oh, I don't want to listen to that. Or relationship. I mean, these are usually the biggies, right? Health, relationship, vocation. All of a sudden, the relationship, the passion or the joy or the co-creative expression is not there, and you're just shameful that, oh gosh, it's not the expression of love that I want within relationship or within the work, and I can't seem to change it. I don't. Everything's fine, wonderful. It's all God. It's beautiful, and you just do that over and over. But eventually, the swamp of the mind can only take so much, and the head starts playing games. Well, how do I get out of this? Well, then all of a sudden, concepts of maybe dying. Maybe if I die, it would be a graceful way out of this terminal disease. I'm gone. Work will love me forever. forever. Relationship will be just fine, and all those kind of things. And the head starts playing, but this is the kind of chatter that the subjective takes a hold of and doesn't just disregard. It's as if you got a cavity, right? And you're waiting for your dentist appointment. You get the notice from the dentist. You got an appointment, and you disregard it. It's like, because if you go there and they drill down and they hit the live nerve, ow, that hurts. But that's a good sign because that means they've gone through the dead stuff of the cavity and they hit the live stuff. But all of a sudden you get the phone call to remind you of your appointment and you ignore it. That's not how you're going to get rid of your cavities. Well, you got this something that is like on the inside of your being that's calling for your attention. That spirit looking to self itself for you to deal with this here. And I just don't need to go on that appointment right now. And you bury it, and you repress it, and you put it in there, and you choose not to look at it and to deal with it, and all of a sudden it just continues to stir and stir within your soul and within your spirit. You are the one who's got to decide, I got to do something here, because you're not going to be able to progress any further without the key to get in. It just doesn't work. There are these three friends. They went to New York, and they got to the big hotel, and they went to the front desk to check in, and the manager said, hey guys, you know what? We got some good news for you and not so good news. The good news is we got you on the 30th floor, penthouse, outside balcony, one of the best views in the city. The not so good news is the elevator's not working right now. It's going to be a couple hours, don't worry. Hey, we'll invite you to the lounge, have some refreshments, something to eat, something to drink. In a few hours, we should have you good to go with that. And so, the trio, they talked about and said, you know what? It's kind of late in the afternoon. Let's just walk the 30 stories up there. And so they made a deal. They said, to help pass the time, what we'll do is we'll each just continue to tell one after the other the funniest stories that we can think about to help pass the time. And so they began on their trek up those 30 stories. They got to the 10th floor, and they're huffing and puffing. And, the big laughter just kind of subsided to grins, an occasional chuckle. By the time they got to the 18th floor, they're extremely winded, and there's big pauses in their storytelling with them trying to catch their breath. By the time they get to the 29th floor, one of the guys just sits down on the steps and starts busting up hysterically, just laughing like crazy. They say, what is it? He says, I've got something really funny. You guys want to hear this? And, between his huffing and puffing, trying to catch his breath, he said, hey, well, what I'm going to share with you is absolutely the truth. We left the key to our room at the front desk. You're going to have to deal with it, It doesn't matter if you're almost there. If you don't have that key to get you in, there's a problem there. There is an issue there. And when this voice, this spirit is, selfing itself in your life and trying to give you a heads up before you get to the 29th floor, you've got to listen. And as you are listening, you begin to feel its presence. And oftentimes what our mind wants to do is say, okay, the Word of God, it's coming through and it's good. God is good. But actually, the Word of God's, it's not like goodness, and it's not really badness either. When you get that Word of God, it's just an expression of being. See, God is being. And so when we allow God to be through us, actually it's God being as us in our life. It is God selfing itself as our life. You don't sit there and judge, this is good, this is bad. It is Spirit expressing itself in the wholeness and the abundance and the fullness and the grace and the wonder and the cleansing and remembering the key while it's being offered to you. It's dealing with that which comes up for you in your life, in your world. It is doing that mental work that is necessary so you can be that expression in a clean kind of way. Sun Tzu, Chinese philosopher, army strategist whose book, The Art of War, has influenced the Western and the Eastern minds and generals and philosophers for centuries, said that the victorious warrior wins before he goes to war, and the defeated warrior goes to war and seeks to win. Got that? Before you even get out there, you've done the work. You've done the interior stuff. The successful warrior wins before they ever go to war, where the defeated warrior goes to the war, goes to the battlefield, goes after that goal, that dream, that something that is stirring in them without having done the inner work. They get the nose bobbed, the lips expanded, the rear reduced, but they haven't done the inner work. You've got to do that. You don't go into the battlefield seeking to win. You go out there victorious, successful, complete, and expressive from the very beginning. It's not about dealing with that which you've repressed later on. It doesn't work like that. Carl Jung talked about the hungry hounds in the basement. You know, they're there, they're yipping, they're going to have to be fed, and you're going to have to deal with that. And you know what? That's just another face of spirit. That's just another hat that you get to put on. That's just another aspect of your being that you get to bring forth into your life and into your world. And so when something's going on, work with it, deal with it. Get, like, Elijah became familiar with what it was like in the silence. We call that doing meditation, right? And, you know, the beautiful thing about meditation, it is probably the best mobile device you got. Right? It works anywhere, anytime, very unobtrusively. People don't get it, that you're just, boom, connecting, man, with spirit. And there's something that feels right. There's something that feels good here. There's something that is spirit that is moving in my life and in my world. And I know that it's going to express itself in a way that is perfect, in a way that is God. Because spirit is ready to take a selfie with you, as your life. And so as you begin to allow that to move through you, you come to recognize that, you know what, I'm going to listen. I'm going to listen to that something inside of me, that power, that command from a higher place, a deeper place, from the ascended aspect of the galaxies, as opposed to the nagging 1,000 little thoughts of fear and concern. Because what I want us to get is that, you know what, you are already safe. You're always safe in your life. I don't know if I should do this. You are always safe in your life. You are always loved in your life. No matter what changes, even if things are always changing, that never changes. Okay? That never changes, even if things are changing. That's it. And so you're going to be... you get to make a decision in your life. When you find the resistance to your dreams, you get to decide, am I going to buy into the resistance, or I'm going to allow it to awaken the primordial aspect of my being? The choice is mine. And when these moments of challenge, when these hounds of heaven are nipping at our heels or in the basement, when something is going on, you are the one who gets to decide as you are moved up against the wall, because you will be compelled to decide where you're going to listen to, who you're going to listen to, what is it that is going to come through you. And if you choose to slip into that place of meditation and be receptive to that presence of God, you'll be able to be moved by that. The choice is yours. Viktor Frankl says that, and he came out of the concentration camps, one of the survivors from there, said that there's power in the pause. Got that? There's a power in the pause between the stimulus and the response. Got that? So when something goes on, if you can pause, allow spirit to present itself, to self itself. That's the fun the infinite has. That's the game it has. It likes doing that. It likes coming forth. It doesn't like being stymied. It doesn't matter because it's everything. It's in the stymie as well. But you know what? There's power in the pause and say, okay, this is the stimulus, and this is how I'm going to respond here. There's something that is ready to be revealed here that is greater than what my little mind or my present mind is knowing. Ernest Holmes, he talks about that the mind should move or shift. The mind should shift from inspiration to action, from contemplation to accomplishment, from prayer to performance. Okay, that's what our mind should do. It should shift from inspiration to action, from contemplation to accomplishment, from prayer to performance. You know, That's what we're doing when we're connecting with Spirit. We're getting, we're seeing, we're understanding. But we've got to pause sometimes instead of that knee-jerk reaction. Fun Eastern story, and it's been well told, but it is about a Middle Eastern man who was wrongfully charged, found guilty, and incarcerated. And so he's thrown in jail as a criminal, and one of his buddies came to see him, and he was hoping his buddy would bring, hacksaw, drill, key, saw, something to get out of this prison, and all he left him was a prayer rug. And he went back to his cell, very angry that he wasn't given, a key to the cell or something. Anyway, he was left with the rug, so he decided, I'll pray, what else? So, put down the prayer rug several times a day, got down, kneeled, did his prayers, Mecca, did his thing. But what began to happen over a period of time is on that prayer rug, he began to see a pattern emerge. And as he did more and more prayers, he began to notice this pattern emerged as the inner workings of the lock on his cell, and it revealed to him how to undo the latch inside the lock of his cell, and he eventually freed himself and was free from that prison. But only when he stopped looking outside of himself and realized that he was standing on the very ground that was woven between his feet, right where he was the answers for what he was looking for. And that's what Spirit does, is it shows up in our life in ways that are representative of our ability to get it, even though I might be looking over here. And that's the thing. It is the multi-aspect, the polyphrenic aspect of our being that can begin to get it this way or this way or this way or this way. We're not just, it's all part of the one. I mean, Spirit is all one. But there's many different aspects of the one. And Gene Houston writes about it very well from this particular chapter we're working on here. And she was telling about a trip over in India. And she said, myths and scriptures teach us that gods are both one and many. In a single unified consciousness with its many refractions, like, the many facets, the diamond I mentioned, it's one diamond, but it has many different facets. So once in India, she said, I found myself in a village temple examining the rudely carved, highly painted statues of the Hindu gods. And a white-haired old farmer came over to me, his hands gnarled from the years of plowing with his water buffalo. You see that goddess there, sister? That's Lakshmi. She brings us abundance and the fruits of the field. And over there, with the elephant head, that's Ganesha, who brings us protection and the many good things. And here in front of us is Shiva. He lets things die so there can be new birth and the rising can happen. And around us you can see Parvarita, and you can see Vishnu, and you can see Durga, and you can see Rama, and you can see Sita. But really, sister, they are all Namarupa. That is, different names and forms for the one God who contains them all. Namarupa is, in Hindu philosophy, the ultimate statement of the varieties of religious expressions, the many names and forms of the gods. They give us a notion of how we might find unity in the variety that is within ourselves. The gods manifest in multiple forms so they can best serve the countless others according to their needs. But elevated, they merge into one. They know unity as their true nature. And for us as well, multitasked, fragmented, compartmentalized as we are by shifting complexities of this jump time, the one self that orchestrates the multitude that we contain is that part of the personality that is closer to our universal nature, the constant that is with the divine, that unified one. In other words, there is only one, but it expresses in multiple ways. Hinduism is not the only one that tries to explain the one in ways in which we can understand. It's broken down into the pieces so we get how it manifests in our life in ways that are relevant and real for us. Christianity has, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Terror. It has its Trinity there. You got Vishnu, Shiva, and Brahma. You have, spirit, soul, and body. We have what is considered the one that is broken down so we can begin to understand how it shows up in our life in the needs. It appears to be fragmented, but it is only so that we can begin to grasp how abundance shows up, how safety shows up, how protection shows up, how healing shows up, how death shows up, how rebirth shows up. They're all aspects of the one that we're all part of. It is the multifaceted, the polyphrenic aspect, that has these different parts, the different hats, the different aspects of who we need to be in particular moments. It doesn't mean we're neurotic or schizophrenic. It means that we're calling upon those parts that connected with the infinite concept of peace, that connected with the infinite, and are able to bring it forth in that moment if we are present in the moment. If we are present with the moment and real with the moment and able to let go of the moment when it is done. Great Buddhist teachings, being present. There was a student asking his master teacher, Suzuki Roshi, said, "Master, you teach us that we just sit when we sit. You just eat when you eat. Nothing else. Is it the same with anger? Do we just do anger?" And the teacher, Roshi, said, "Interesting question. Do we just do anger like a storm that explodes and then is done?" He said, "I wish I could do that. I wish I could do that." Which is saying this master doesn't have it all mastered yet. We all have those areas that we are working on in our life, those things that we maybe wanted to repress and not look at and deal with. What they're doing is they're calling you forth. You cannot disappear and think you're going to resolve the stuff. You have to be able to be present so you can move with it and allow Spirit to bring forth its expression in the way that is right, real, and appropriate. What's going on for you, that's your spiritual practice. So if you have an area that you like to just die to get away from, that's probably yours to do, according to Emma Curtis Hopkins. It is yours to work with and take a look at. And that you'll bring forth that aspect of Spirit in this unique way in that moment that is for your highest and best. Because you've got to remember, no matter what you're safe, no matter what you're loved, this has never changed, no matter how everything changes. That true continuity and expression of Spirit is moving into your life, and it is not good and it is not bad. It is just Spirit playing the selfing game in its infinite expressions as your very life. Trust that. Have fun with it, because I'll tell you what, God is. You might as well too. God bless you. I love it. Hey, let's keep it going as we bring Andrea, Lane, and Billy back to our stage.
What if every moment was a miracle? Every single moment. Ooh, every cell within me is a miracle. Each and every breath. Breathe. Ooh, I say good high. The storm will soon pass. I say go high. The storm will soon choosing to reveal lights. Ooh, I say go fly. The dark reveals light. I say go fly. The dark reveals light. What if every moment was a miracle? Every single moment. Ooh, every cell within me. It's a miracle. Each and every breath. Breathe.
That is Andrea Lane and Billy. Woo. Wow. Man, what power there.